Evening folks, this is BestInSlot with another mod spotlight for Jurassic World Evolution. Tonight we're going to take a look at the single most popular mod of all time for Jurassic World Evolution so far. I did incorrectly say this was the Jurassic Park one from the other day. That was the most popular of the past 30 days. This is the most popular one ever. It's the environmental rework by Danny Bob. Now the tree is a red herring. You may be able to see this from the ground, but what this mod basically does is it retextures every environmental element in the game, and it also swaps some out for some other things. I'm going to show you all of them today, and we're going to do a little bit of a comparison with the default stuff as well. So I've prepared. Now it will be a little hard to see till we do the comparison, but you'll get a good feel for it. So I'm going to sweep over. First of all, you can see this is the grass texture, and you can see already it's much darker. The mod in general is a lot darker, a lot more. I mean, Jurassic World Evolution is quite a bright and shiny game, and the mod definitely goes in a different direction. So we have the rock texture looking rocky, just very similar to what we already have actually, but retextured, a little bit more high definition, stuff like that. If we Alt F2, we can go in a little bit here. You can see it's actually pretty high quality texture. If we swing over to the right a little bit, we have our new sand texture. There are two of these available. This is probably my favourite of the bunch. The default sand in Jurassic World Evolution very much looks like beach sand. You know, it's got the ripples and stuff like that. This has gone for a more deserty kind of style, a desert kind of look. It's quite rough, grainy, coarse sand, perfect for what is, generally speaking, an inland exhibit. Most of Jurassic World Evolution's islands, well, they're not islands, that's my point. You know, the exhibit area we're building, like this one right here, is not connected to the water. Then we have the dirty dirt, which as you can see again, new texture, really nice high definition texture, and is, again, a little bit darker, I would say, a little bit more obvious. If you compare the dirt and the grass in the default game, that's a good image right there. If you compare the dirt and the grass against each other in default Jurassic World Evolution, they do blend together quite a lot. The dirt is quite light. Here, it's a very distinct and striking difference. Shuffle over a little bit more. Here is another new texture. This is the one that gets placed whenever you put down your plant life. So I'll just show you very quickly. If I click the right blimmin' button, if we make some coastal over here, you can see it puts in this kind of mulchy, dark kind of texture. Again, this is going to be, whether this is to your tastes, I think is going to be very, very personal. These at least. But there are some things done with this mod which I think are universally going to be appreciated as being awesome. So let's shift over to the right. The redwoods have been made, I believe the difference here is they're a little bit more red. The default redwoods are kind of grey-brownish. These ones have got a bit more of a striking red tint to them. We can take a look at the rocks. You see, I believe one of these, maybe this one or this one, I don't know, has a slightly new shape, but they've also had moss added. A lot of these are actually optional files, like there's another brush for the sand that makes it more like beach sand. You can have the rocks without the moss. There's like 7 files in total, so you can really pick and choose what you want. But the best thing about this mod, in my opinion, the very best thing, because I can take or leave this is cool, but, you know, whatever. This right here is the best thing. We have 2 new things in the game. We have logs, ladies and gentlemen, logs. This right here is a tilted over redwood with some spikes on it and the leaves removed, I guess. And over here we just have like a mossy, grass-covered log. Now, unfortunately, modding in Jurassic World Evolution right now only replaces. We just can't figure out how to add new things to the game. Everything is replacing something else. But when you've got this many trees and this many rocks, it doesn't seem like a big deal. So tree 2 has been replaced with the little log, as you can see. And you can actually string these together. Like, you can't stack them that way, but if you want to string them like this, you can actually make a long one, which I think, that's really cool. I have a thing for logs. If you ever see me play Planet Zoo, you'll know that. That's awesome. I'm a big fan of that. And if we go back in scenery and go down to our rocks and click, I believe the 3rd one. Yes, the 3rd one is replaced by this big old tree. If you didn't want to do that, again, you could just stick to the brushes and stuff like that. You do get quite a lot of control over what it'll look like. So there you go. That's what the mod changes, I believe. I may have missed a thing or two, but I don't think so. I have made a little exhibit, so we're going to swing bada over here. This corner here, and we're going to sit in a pretty place and just get a look for it. I think it does look more, obviously you could build nicer looking exhibits or whatever than this. I think it does look more realistic, more grounded, a little bit dirtier in general, a little bit darker. I quite like Jurassic World Evolution's aesthetic style in general, maybe not the building design but in everything else. But if you did want to go more in this direction, if you want to film like a dinosaur documentary, or you just want your parks to have a different feeling for like one park build or something like that, really mix things up, this does make the game feel very different to me. It really does. Now what I'd like to do is take a cheeky little screenshot right now, Maybe, let's make this a pretty screenshot. And then what I want to do is come back and try to get a shot in the exact same location. And that's going to really help us do our comparisons. So let's just swing around a little bit. So you can see here we've got the redwoods lying over the river. We've got a little log somewhere, a little log over there. I don't know, I like it quite a lot. I'm not sure if I'm going to use it or not. Worth checking what it looks like in the default era as well. That I might prefer. Now, I know this sounds slightly blasphemous. I personally prefer the default era colour scheme, this sort of blue colour scheme, the blue-green, over the Jurassic Park one. I know that's bad. I do. And in Jurassic World, the actual film, I didn't like the colour grading. I thought it was too far. But in this, I think it's subtle enough, and it just feels brighter and more alive to me. But yeah, personal preference, whatever. We're going to come back with the mod uninstalled, and then we'll do some direct comparison images as well to round things off. And here we are. Like I say, we'll do a proper comparison image thingamajiggy at the end, but I do want to fly through very quickly if you keep in your mind what it used to look like. I think the main difference right away you can see is the grass is much, much brighter by default. There's a little less detail in the ground texture and stuff as well. The rock does not look much different at all, I would say. And actually, I think I need to look at the comparison image to have any clue what's different with the rock. The sand is definitely different. As you can see, it's much whiter, much paler. It does look more like beach sand rather than desert sand. Which one you want to use will probably more depend on which park you're building in more than anything else. The dirt, like I say, does blend in much more of the sand. And the grassland, it does put in some taller grass and it kind of adds a bit of a yellow colour, but by and large it doesn't really look much different than the default, whereas of course in the mod we've got this big mulchy stuff. The rocks are a lot darker and they lack moss. You can see that lack of red on the trees as well. Over here, that was our two logs, our fallen tree and stuff like that, and obviously that's changed as well. And that was as well, and obviously that's changed as well. Let's hop over to our exhibit. I'm really curious as to whether this is going to look better or worse. I still like it by default, I really do. I think I'm okay with both sets. I think I like the new dirt quite a lot. I think that's pretty cool. I really like the fallen log and the other, like the two logs are very, very cool. I'm a big fan of logs. Like that's always been a thing for me. Whether I prefer this environment or the other, I'm not 100% sure. Really, I think it will be very heavily personal preference, but let's go take a look at some direct comparison images and we can definitely make up our mind from that one. Okay, let's finish off with a slightly more direct comparison then. There are, very clearly, first things first, the grass is monumentally different. It is the biggest difference in this entire mod, I would say. The grass is just so much darker, more suitable for certain environments, probably less suitable for other environments. I really do think that's the crux of this mod. If you're trying to build certain places, I think if you're trying to do, say, an Isla Sorna kind of look, then I think this mod is probably a really good bet. I think if you're trying to do an Isla Nublar, then maybe you want to stick to the original. I don't really know. It's up to you guys. I'm just kind of trying to highlight the differences. There is some more of a difference with the rock than I realised. It's not much, but it has like some mossy sort of texture on it. The sand, I think you can tell, again, that really highlights what I was trying to say. It's much flatter, coarser, less beachy, and in the dirt, again, much, much darker, stands out a lot more. It does mean it blends in less well with the grass, but if you use the other stuff properly, you can kind of accommodate for that. Let's, there we go. Again, very much shows the difference. And you can see the difference between this dirt we've got on the left and this new one here. It's a very distinctly different looking texture. It looks more like a rainforest sort of floor. It's very mulchy and there's different textures in there, different colours in there. Can we zoom in? You can see there's leaves and sticks and tons of different things. It's definitely much more varied than the original version. Again, personal preference. Here, this one I will say, the top image does look better to me. I like some moss on my rocks, what can I say? I think the light rock on the dark grass looks better than the dark grass on the dark rock on the light grass, but there you go, nice little direct comparison. This is the most important one, I would say. Nope, not there, okay, but we have to go through that. That one right there, that is our big comparison, and really which of those two, I've tried to get them as close as possible. I think it's near perfect, it's not quite there. Now the bottom one does have dinosaurs, which helps. I will say I've not moved anything else, so that rock right there is this tree. You know, that's how the comparison works. I could definitely make nicer images for both. I'm struggling a little with this one. From my perspective, I guess my problem, I may have used different lighting, that may be part of my problem. The bottom one looks more like Jurassic World. It's very much more what I'd associate with Jurassic World. That makes a lot of sense, of course. It kind of looks like a screenshot from the game that you'd see in promo materials or whatever. The top one looks so much like a completely different game. I don't dislike that. I think that's pretty cool. But it's like wrapping your head around it is actually quite difficult. I'm not sure. I'm really unsure whether this is something I'll keep using or not. I think, as I said, I think this is something we'll use for specific builds, if we try and do certain stuff. If we do an Isla Sauna Park, like I've talked about, I think we'd use the top. I think for most things we might use the bottom, but I do love fallen trees and logs a lot. I'd be really interested to know what you folks at home think, so let me know in the comments down below. I'll see you lovely folks in the next video. Remember to hit the like button if you're enjoying these mod spotlights. We're going to be back with one tomorrow, inevitably. Cheers, much love as always. Bye-bye. Hey folks, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you want to help support me a little bit more, you can do so at patreon.com/bestinslot. There's a link in the description down below. Every little really does help in times like these, but it's not at all expected, and by just watching the video you've already helped me out massively, and it makes you a pretty cool person, so well done you. Thanks for joining me either way, I'll see you next time.